The station above the red gas giant was alive with sound and light. Ships of many shapes came and went, their engines glowing bright against the dark of space. The docking platforms were busy, full of travelers and merchants, soldiers and workers. Every species moved with purpose, some walking on many legs, others gliding on air currents, but all followed the same old rule. Before stepping onto the station floor, they removed their helmets and breathing masks. It was not only a tradition but also a sign of peace. To show the face was to show trust. On this day, a human ship arrived. It was not the largest ship in the docks, nor the most powerful, but it drew every eye the moment it touched down. The humans walked out in a group of 6, their boots heavy against the metal floor. Their suits were made for survival, built strong and sealed, with helmets covering their heads. The glass visors were dark, hiding their faces completely. Unlike every other species, they did not reach for the latch or make the gesture of peace. They walked forward with their helmets still locked in place. The aliens around them began to whisper. A trader from the blue-skinned Kerr raised his head fins in alarm. A tall Vuran warrior clicked his tusks together and shifted his weapon away from his belt. Even the gentle Talari, who rarely showed fear, moved their children behind them. All of them had seen humans before, but always in open settings, always with their faces visible. Seeing a group of humans walk calmly with their helmets sealed made them uneasy. The humans did not notice the growing silence around them. They moved with steady steps, their leader walking in front. His name was Ryan, and he carried himself with quiet strength. The other 5 followed in a tight formation, their suits polished, their movements calm. To them, wearing helmets was natural. They had learned through centuries of space travel that danger could come at any moment. A sudden leak, a fire, or a chemical spill could take a life in seconds. Keeping the helmet on until the air was checked was simply habit. But to the aliens, the hidden faces were like shadows. The visor glass reflected the bright lights of the docking bay, turning the humans into silent figures with no emotion. Other species relied on reading eyes, lips, and expressions to understand mood. Without that, they could not tell if the humans were angry, calm, or preparing for battle. The silence of the helmets made the humans look like predators waiting for the right moment to strike. The station guards noticed the change in the crowd. They were tall insectoid beings from the Kelra race, their antennae twitching as they felt the tension. 2 guards stepped forward, their weapons holstered but their bodies ready. They spoke in clear standard, their voices clicking through mandibles. Travelers from Earth, station law asks all to remove helmets before entering public halls. Please show faces. The words reached the humans, but Ryan only turned his head slightly. Through the dark visor, the guards saw nothing but a shadow. He raised one hand in a calm gesture and spoke through the voice filter. We will remove them later. Safety first. The voice that came through the helmet was steady, but the machine distortion made it sound unnatural, almost metallic. The guards froze for a moment. Their antennae quivered, and one of them stepped back. The aliens watching nearby took the motion as a sign of danger. The whispers grew louder. Still, the humans walked on. They did not raise weapons. They did not make threats. They only walked forward toward the station's main entrance. But each step made the crowd more uneasy. Some aliens backed away, pressing against the walls. Others moved to the side corridors to avoid crossing paths. A merchant dropped his crate when the sound of the human boots echoed too close. The humans did not slow. They were unaware of the fear around them. To them, it was an ordinary day of travel. To everyone else, it was the beginning of a story that would spread far beyond the docking bay. A story that would tell how dangerous it felt to stand near a human whose face could not be seen. By the time the 6 reached the inner gate, the crowd had already scattered. The whispers followed them like shadows. Why do they hide their faces? Are they planning something? They look like they are ready for war. The station had seen many travelers and many dangers in its long history, but this moment would be remembered. For the first time, aliens learned the silent truth. A human face was a sign of peace. A hidden human face was something else entirely. The docking bay slowly returned to movement after the humans passed through, but the air was still heavy. The sound of boots on the floor still echoed in the minds of those who had seen it. Whispers began to spread like sparks jumping from one wire to another. Travelers leaned close to each other, their voices low, their eyes wide with unease. A trader with long blue arms spoke to his companion. "Did you see their eyes?" "No, we did not. The glass was too dark." "What if they are hiding something?" His companion, a short being with bright feathers, shook his head. "They hide their faces because they want to keep secrets. I heard that humans do not show weakness. A covered face may be their way of showing they are ready to fight." Nearby, a group of Talari healers gathered their children and whispered warnings. They believed that eyes were the windows of life. To them, a face hidden behind dark glass meant a soul that did not wish to connect. One of them murmured softly, "When a being hides its face, it hides its heart. Beware of the ones who walk like that." Even the guards who had spoken to Ryan felt uneasy. They returned to their posts but kept glancing toward the gate where the humans had disappeared. One said to the other, their voices were too steady. I could not tell if he was calm or angry. "How can you trust a being when you cannot see its expression?" The other guard clicked his mandibles. "We cannot. That is why it feels dangerous." As the whispers grew, so did the stories. Some travelers claimed they had felt the humans staring through the glass, as if the visors could pierce into their thoughts. Others swore the helmets had special weapons hidden inside. No one knew the truth, but fear never needed truth. Fear only needed imagination. In the food hall of the station, the talk spread even faster. Merchants repeated what they had heard, but each added small details to make the story more dramatic. A trader told his friends, the humans walked with such control, like predators circling prey. Another added, they ignored the guards. They do not respect rules. Perhaps they think they are above the law. By the end of the hour, some aliens already believed the humans had come with hostile purpose. The story had turned from 6 travelers in sealed helmets to a secret team of warriors ready for battle. None of it was true, yet the fear was strong enough to grow with every retelling. In another part of the station, a scholar of the Vuran race listened to the rumors with great interest. He had studied humans before and knew of their history. He spoke to his students, "You must understand, humans are different. They come from a world full of danger. For them, covering the face is survival. Yet to us, it feels like a threat. This is how misunderstandings become legends." The students asked, "But teacher, if it is only survival, why not remove the helmets once they are safe?" The scholar gave a slow answer. Because to them, safety is never certain. They live with the belief that disaster can strike at any moment. The helmet is their shield. It is not for intimidation. It is for life. The words were wise, but few others were willing to believe such calm explanations. Fear was easier to accept than reason. Meanwhile, the humans walked deeper into the station. They passed through the wide hallways filled with colorful lights and floating screens. Other species stepped aside quickly as they approached. None dared to speak to them. Ryan noticed the way aliens moved back, but he thought nothing of it. He assumed they were only making space for travelers in heavy suits. One of his companions, Myra, spoke through her filtered voice. "This place is tense. Do you feel it?" Ryan answered simply, "It is always like this in a new station. Do not think too much." But Myra could feel more. She noticed the way eyes followed them, not with curiosity but with hidden fear. She chose not to argue, but her thoughts remained uneasy. The humans finally reached their quarters. As the doors closed behind them, the noise of the station faded. Inside the room, they began checking their equipment and preparing for their next task. For them, it was an ordinary stop, nothing more. Yet outside, the whispers grew stronger. In the docking bay, a nervous worker told a story to his crew. I swear one of them turned and looked straight at me. I could not see his eyes, but I felt them. It was like standing in front of a storm. The crew believed him, and they carried the story forward. Soon, half the station was repeating it. By the end of the day, the humans were no longer simple travelers in sealed helmets. They had become a mystery, a shadow, a fear whispered from mouth to mouth. The galaxy was large and full of strange beings, yet none could match the fear of the unseen human face. And in that fear, the legend of humans with helmets began to grow. The station guards could not ignore the whispers any longer. By now, half the docking bay spoke only of the humans, their voices filled with worry. A single choice, keeping helmets sealed, was turning into a storm of rumors. The command center of the station received reports of unease, and soon the order was clear. The humans had to be approached again. 2 guards became 4, and 4 became 6. Their polished armor glinted under the white lights as they walked with firm steps through the busy hallways. The antennae of the insectoid Kelra guards moved with sharp focus, reading the tension in the air. The station prided itself on peace, and anything that disturbed it was taken seriously. When the guards reached the human quarters, the hall outside was already half empty. Aliens avoided walking too near the sealed door, as though something dangerous waited behind it. A pair of merchants whispered as they hurried past. "They are planning something inside." Another voice answered, "Why else would they lock the helmets on their heads?" The guards ignored the chatter but stored it away in their minds. The lead guard pressed the door signal. A soft tone rang, and moments later the door opened. Ryan stepped out, still wearing his sealed helmet. Behind him, the other 5 humans stood waiting. The guard spoke with clear authority. "Travelers of Earth, by station law, helmets must be removed in shared areas. The crowd grows restless. We request you follow the rule." Ryan's visor reflected the guard's face like a mirror. His voice came through the filter, calm yet heavy. "We keep them on for safety. We mean no disrespect. The air here is clean, but habit teaches us to wait. A sealed helmet is protection against surprise." His words were steady, but to the guards and to the growing group of onlookers, they sounded like refusal. The metallic tone of the filter removed all warmth. It was difficult to hear kindness in a voice that echoed like a machine. One of the guards leaned closer, his antennae twitching with unease. "You must understand. The people fear you. They cannot read your faces. They believe you hide anger." Ryan gave a small nod, though the visor made it impossible to see. "We understand your concern. But we cannot remove them now. Later, perhaps." That answer, simple to a human, carried a very different meaning to the aliens. Later sounded like a delay before something planned. Perhaps sounded like doubt. The crowd behind the guards gasped, and the whispers began again. Myra, standing just behind Ryan, noticed the growing fear. She spoke quietly, her filtered voice softer than his. "We should remove them now, Ryan. They think we hide something." But Ryan shook his head. "No. We remove them once we know every system here is stable. Until then, we follow our way." To the humans, it was logical. To the aliens, it looked stubborn and secretive. The guards glanced at each other. They did not wish to escalate the matter. The humans were calm, not aggressive, yet the unease in the hall was growing stronger with each moment. One guard finally stepped back, clicking his mandibles in retreat. The others followed his motion. The crowd watching from a distance interpreted this as fear. To them, the guards were pulling away because they sensed danger. An alien trader who had been hiding behind a column whispered loudly to his companions, The guards are afraid. That means the humans are dangerous. His words spread quickly, repeated by one mouth after another. Within minutes, what had been a calm refusal became a story of humans defying authority. Inside their quarters, the humans continued their work. They laid out maps, checked their tools, and spoke of their next mission. To them, the encounter had been small, not worth worry. They had met guards before on other stations, and it always ended the same way. Yet outside their walls, the story was twisting into something else entirely. The station commander, a wise old Kelra, received the reports with deep concern. She tapped her claws on the table, listening as her officers described the scene. The humans were calm, yet the crowd was restless. Rumors spoke of hidden weapons, secret missions, and unreadable faces. None of it was proven, yet the danger was not the humans themselves but the fear they created. The commander gave her order. Watch them closely. Do not provoke, but do not leave them unobserved. If fear grows too much, we must act. And so, invisible eyes followed the humans wherever they walked. Cameras turned, patrols shifted, and aliens moved aside with quiet steps. The 6 humans did not notice all of it. They only felt the air around them grow heavier, as though every hallway they walked through was filled with suspicion. The misunderstanding was small at first. A simple habit. A simple choice. Yet already, it was shaping into something larger. Fear had taken root in the hearts of many, and fear, once planted, was hard to remove. The wide market hall of the station was usually filled with the sounds of music, traders calling out prices, and the voices of many species bargaining. But on this day, the noise was lower, filled instead with whispers and the quiet shuffle of nervous movement. The humans had entered the market to buy supplies, and their sealed helmets drew every eye. Ryan walked in front, scanning the stalls with calm interest. Myra and the others followed, each carrying a small case for goods. To them, the market was simple business. They needed food packs, new filters, and spare parts for their ship. Yet to the aliens around them, the sight of 6 humans moving silently through the crowd looked more like a hunting pack than a group of shoppers. Every step of their boots echoed in the hall. The reflections of the bright lamps danced across their dark visors, turning their faces into shifting mirrors. Merchants who once shouted for attention now lowered their voices, afraid to draw notice. Some even turned away, pretending to arrange items on their shelves rather than face the humans. At one stall, a brave trader of the Roln race raised his hand. "Supplies, good supplies," he said quickly. His voice shook as the humans turned toward him. Their helmets reflected his entire body back at him, making him feel as though he was staring at 6 copies of himself. He placed the goods on the counter with nervous hands. Ryan nodded once, set down a credit chip, and took the items. Not a single word of threat passed, but the trader felt his knees weaken as soon as the group moved on. It was then that a small accident changed everything. A young alien from the Talaris ran through the market, chasing a floating toy sphere. He was laughing as he darted between stalls. Without warning, he collided with one of the humans, bumping into the side of a sealed helmet. The child froze, staring wide-eyed at the mirrored glass. The human turned his head slowly, the visor hiding every trace of expression. For a brief moment, the child felt as though a giant shadow looked down upon him. The boy screamed and ran back to his parents. Gasps spread through the market. None of the humans had raised a hand, none had spoken, yet the sight of the child's fear was enough to harden the unease already in the air. A Talari elder spoke loudly to her group. "You see, even the children feel it. They sense danger when they look into those hidden faces." Another alien added quickly, "I heard the helmets hide weapons. Perhaps they can fire beams from behind the glass." The rumor caught fire. Within moments, a cluster of merchants whispered it as fact. Soon, the fear spread again, carrying new details invented by imagination. The humans continued walking, unaware of the storm they left behind. Myra noticed the child's scream and frowned. She spoke to Ryan through her comm. They are afraid of us. The stories are growing stronger. Ryan's reply was steady. Fear fades with time. We will show them peace through action, not by rushing. But fear did not fade. Instead, it grew. By the time the humans left the market, the story had changed again. Now aliens claimed the humans had glared at the child with predator eyes. Others swore the humans had tested their helmets against him, as if planning to strike. The simple accident was transformed into a tale of warning, carried from mouth to mouth until it reached even the higher officers of the station. Later that evening, the station council gathered. Leaders of many species sat around the table, each voice rising with concern. One shouted, "They frighten our citizens." Another argued, "They ignore rules and show no faces." A third warned, "Already the markets grow quiet. Trade suffers when fear spreads." The council did not yet decide, but the seed of action was planted. The humans had done nothing violent, yet the growing stories made it seem as though they carried danger wherever they walked. Back in their quarters, the humans placed their supplies in order. Myra looked at her companions and sighed. They do not understand us. To them, a helmet is more than protection. It is a mask that hides the mind. If this continues, they will act against us. Ryan adjusted the seals on his helmet and gave his calm answer. We will face it if it comes. Until then, we remain as we are. We mean no harm, and in time, perhaps they will see that. But the misunderstanding was no longer small. The station had become a place of rumor, fear, and suspicion. A simple habit of safety had transformed into a legend of hidden threat. Every step the humans took deepened the story, and every whisper gave it new strength. The humans believed patience would bring peace. The aliens believed silence hid danger. Between those two beliefs, the gap grew wider with each passing hour. And so the misunderstanding spread, no longer contained in the market or the bay. It moved through the halls, into the council chambers, and soon into the wider galaxy itself. The humans remained calm in their quarters, unaware of how quickly their reputation had grown outside. Ryan organized the supplies they had collected from the market. Myra checked the filters of their suits while others prepared tools and food packs for their journey ahead. It was a normal routine for humans traveling through space, yet for the aliens on the station, every action was being watched and misunderstood. By late afternoon, the station council requested that the humans attend a meeting. The message was polite but firm. It was not an order, it was a request made in the language of diplomacy. Ryan nodded to his companions. We will go. Perhaps they need to see us. The hall was large and bright, filled with leaders from dozens of species. Each one sat with careful posture, eyes fixed on the 6 humans entering the room. When the humans arrived, they removed their gloves and laid down their small devices and tools on the table. Then, in a deliberate motion, Ryan lifted his helmet, revealing his calm, human face. The others followed, one by one, their faces showing simple curiosity and a gentle smile. The room went quiet. For a moment, the leaders could not speak. They had imagined something dangerous. They had expected hidden weapons, silent threats, or unreadable expressions that could hide hostile intent. Instead, they saw humans with soft eyes and calm gestures. There was no attack. There was no anger. Ryan spoke clearly, without filter now, we understand that our helmets caused fear. That was never our intention. On our world, humans keep helmets on to protect themselves from danger. It is a habit formed from long travel and many risks. We are not hiding anything. We are not preparing to fight. Murmurs moved across the council. Some leaders shifted in their seats, exchanging glances. A few asked questions politely, eager to understand. The cur trader from earlier leaned forward, his voice filled with curiosity. Why not remove them earlier? Why wait? Ryan responded with gentle patience. Because safety comes first. Even in a safe place, we check our surroundings. Our helmets are like shields. We remove them only when we know the air is safe and systems are secure. It is not disrespect. It is caution. A viewer and elder tapped her tusks thoughtfully. So this fear, it was caused by misunderstanding. You mean no harm, and yet we assumed the worst. Yes, Ryan said simply. We only wish to travel safely, to meet others, and to learn. We respect your rules. We will remove helmets as soon as it is safe to do so. The council listened carefully. Slowly, the tension began to fade. The leaders could see the truth in the humans' calm gestures. They noticed that the humans had not shown anger or frustration. Their voices were steady, their eyes open and honest. The stories whispered in the docking bay seemed less believable now. Myra added, "We did not mean to frighten anyone. If our habit caused worry, we are willing to explain and show how we travel safely." The leaders nodded. Some spoke quietly to each other. They realized that humans had different customs. What was normal for humans looked threatening to aliens unfamiliar with them. Fear had grown quickly, but truth was beginning to reach the room. Ryan then offered a small demonstration. He gestured to the table where tools and filters were arranged. This is how we check for safety. We look for air quality, pressure, and leaks. Our helmets allow us to survive until we know the environment is safe. Please, see how simple it is. There is nothing hidden. He lifted a filter, showed how it worked, and replaced it in a careful motion. Myra displayed the food packs and water purifiers. Each action was deliberate, calm, and safe. The council watched with growing understanding. One of the younger leaders spoke up. We feared your silence. We feared that hiding your faces meant hiding plans. Now we see, your silence is caution. Your helmets are shields, not weapons. Ryan smiled softly. Exactly. Humans travel far, through space, through dangers we cannot always see. We have learned to be careful. That is all. The room relaxed. The story of fear and hidden threat began to fade, replaced by curiosity and cautious trust. Even the guards who had approached earlier nodded silently. The humans had shown patience and clarity. They had turned suspicion into understanding. By the end of the meeting, the council thanked the humans. They understood the truth of the habit that had caused such fear. Though whispers might still continue among travelers in the halls, the leaders now had the correct story. The humans had not come with weapons or danger. They had come with caution, respect, and calm. Ryan and Myra returned to their quarters. They knew that the misunderstanding had not disappeared completely, but at least the council now knew the truth. The humans had shown through demonstration that they were not dangerous. They had explained patiently, corrected false fears, and built a small bridge of trust. Even as they prepared for the next day, Ryan could not stop thinking about how simple habits could become legends. A helmet meant safety, yet it had sparked fear across the station. For the humans, it was a lesson. For the aliens, it was a story they would tell for years. And in that quiet, both humans and aliens began to understand a little more about each other. The station was quieter than usual the next morning. Traders moved with caution, travelers kept their distance, and even the guards walked carefully along the wide hallways. The story of the humans with helmets had spread far and wide. Some laughed at the tale, others whispered warnings, and a few stared at the empty docking bay, imagining what might happen next. In the council chambers, the leaders gathered once again. Though the demonstration had shown the humans' intentions were peaceful, the fear that had already grown in the station would not disappear so easily. Some council members argued that habits alone could not erase the stories that had spread. Others believed that the humans had acted with patience and had caused no harm. The discussion became heated, but the main concern remained the same, the fear of the unknown. A tall Vuran leader spoke first. His tusks clicked as he leaned forward. We cannot ignore the fear that has taken root among our people. Even if the humans mean no harm, the mere sight of a sealed helmet causes panic. We must act to prevent future incidents. Another council member, a careful Kerr, added, we should create a rule. One that ensures no traveler can enter public spaces while wearing helmets that hide their faces. It is not a punishment. It is protection for all. The room fell silent for a moment. Some leaders nodded in agreement, recognizing the need for order and safety. Others hesitated, unsure if it was fair to impose such a rule on a species whose customs were different. Finally, the commander of the station spoke. Her voice was calm and deliberate. We understand the humans' habit and their reasons. But our duty is to all travelers. Fear is real, and it can spread faster than any ship. For the safety of everyone, we must pass a regulation. No traveler may enter public areas or ships with their helmets on. The council voted. The decision was unanimous, not because the humans were dangerous, but because the fear they inspired could not be contained. The rule was simple and clear. It would be enforced across the station and shared with nearby systems. The humans had caused no harm, yet the new law was necessary to protect the feelings and safety of all species. When the humans were informed, they remained calm. Ryan listened carefully as a council representative explained the new rule. It is not a punishment. It is a precaution. Your habit has caused concern. Please follow the rule in all future travels here and in other systems that adopt it. Ryan nodded. We understand. We will follow the rule. Our helmets are for protection, but we respect the wishes of the station. Safety and respect go together. Myro looked at him and spoke quietly. It feels strange. We were never dangerous, yet they make a rule against us. Ryan smiled slightly. Strange, yes. But rules are often created to prevent misunderstandings. Let them believe the helmets cause fear. It is not our concern. We will travel safely and show our intentions in actions, not just in words. Outside their quarters, the news spread like wildfire. Merchants whispered it to travelers, guards repeated it in patrols, and travelers shared it across the docking bay. Humans cannot enter with helmets on, they said. Some added extra details, imagining secret powers hidden behind the glass visors. Others laughed, thinking it an unusual law. But all agreed the rule was real and would be followed. The humans continued their preparations, knowing that the new rule would guide their travels. They removed helmets in public areas, explaining politely to curious aliens why they usually wore them. Slowly, the fear began to shift from panic to curiosity. Travelers saw the humans' calm and careful actions, and the story became a strange legend rather than a warning. Yet the humans understood that legends could last longer than truth. They would continue to wear helmets during dangerous tasks, at launch bays or in cargo holds, but in public areas, they followed the law. The galaxy had created a rule for a simple habit, one that had caused more fear than harm. As they moved toward the docking bay for their next mission, Ryan reflected quietly. Humans travel differently. We see danger and prepare for it. The galaxy sees our preparation and misunderstands. That is not surprising. It has always been this way. What matters is patience and respect. Myra nodded. It will be strange for a while, but they will understand us eventually. The humans stepped onto the platform without helmets, walking carefully among the aliens. Eyes followed them, but now with curiosity more than fear. The law was enforced, the misunderstanding contained, and the humans continued their journey with calm determination. And so, a simple habit keeping helmets on had created a galaxy-wide rule. The humans had done nothing wrong, yet fear had shaped a law that would last for years. In the quiet of the docking bay, a legend had begun, one that would tell future travelers about the human habit that once startled the galaxy. The humans continued onward, focused on survival, exploration, and respect. They had faced the misunderstanding with patience and action, and though the ban was now in place, it became part of the strange story of humans in space. The humans had left the station behind, their ship rising slowly into the dark sky above the red gas giant. Inside, Ryan and Myra watched the docking bay grow smaller, the lights fading into tiny sparks as the engines hummed. Outside, the galaxy moved on, but the story of the humans with helmets would not be forgotten. Across the station, aliens told and retold the tale. Merchants who had once whispered in fear now repeated it with curiosity. Guards who had approached cautiously now shared it as a strange memory. Travelers arriving at the station were warned by locals, humans from Earth should always remove helmets in public. It was no longer just a rule. It had become legend. In distant systems, the story traveled even faster. Pilots on transport ships shared it in the mess halls. Students in academies repeated it during lessons. Even diplomats who had never seen a human repeated the tale as advice to newcomers. Humans with helmets can be unsettling, they would say. Do not fear them, they mean no harm, but remember the rule. Ryan knew none of this. On their ship, humans focused on survival, their next mission, and the safety of their team. Yet the galaxy itself was learning about humanity, not from weapons or battles, but from habits and patience. Humans had a simple rule for themselves: keep helmets on until safety was certain. Aliens, unfamiliar with the habit, had turned it into a story of mystery. Myra smiled as she prepared a small meal. It is strange, she said. We did nothing dangerous, yet everywhere we go, people remember us for helmets alone. Ryan nodded, leaning back in his seat. It is strange, yes. But that is the way of stories. A small habit becomes something larger when seen through the eyes of others. Legends are born from misunderstanding, caution, and respect. The humans continued their work quietly. They checked maps, studied star charts, and maintained their ship. Their helmets remained off in public areas, as the ban required, but they always kept them ready for emergencies. In private, they wore them without thought, a simple habit learned from years of space travel. Far across the galaxy, some travelers whispered rumors of humans being cautious beyond reason. Children in alien schools were taught to remove helmets in public because humans might arrive at any moment. The story changed slightly with each retelling. Some claimed that humans had faces that shone behind glass, others that they could see through darkness like stars. None of it was true, but the legend grew stronger with time. Even the station council, long after the humans had left, spoke of the incident as a lesson. They recorded the law in the archives, noting that it was not punishment but precaution. The humans had never intended to frighten anyone, yet their presence had shaped a rule that would last for generations. On their ship, Ryan looked at the stars passing by. We are not here to frighten anyone. We are explorers, travelers, and learners. If fear grows from our habits, that is not our fault. It is theirs to manage. We travel with respect, patience, and caution. That is enough. Myra nodded, watching the glowing points of distant suns. One day, perhaps they will understand completely. Until then, the story will remain a warning and a lesson. The humans passed through more stations, more planets, and more crowds. Everywhere they went, the law was enforced. Helmets were removed in public, explanations given when curiosity arose, and patience exercised at every turn. Some travelers still watched with nervous glances, remembering the tales they had heard. Others looked with fascination, curious about the species that had caused such a story with a simple habit. As years passed, the story became part of galactic history. Humans were known not for wars or conquests in these regions, but for the strange rule that protected aliens from fear. Scholars wrote about it, teachers told it, and storytellers added small details that made it vivid and unforgettable. Even humans, learning the tales later, laughed at the legend of the helmets. They understood how simple habits could create myths and how patience could turn misunderstanding into respect. Ryan and Myra continued their travels, focused on discovery and survival. They knew the galaxy would see them in strange ways, yet they accepted it calmly. Legends, after all, were not about truth alone, they were about stories, lessons, and the way others perceived them. And so, the human simple habit of keeping helmets on until safety was certain became a lasting memory. It was a rule, a story, and a lesson all at once. Across the galaxy, travelers remembered to respect both human caution and alien fear. The humans had done nothing wrong. They had only lived as they always had, and in doing so, they had left a legacy that would be told for generations. The galaxy had learned one quiet truth: humanity's caution, patience, and respect could be as powerful as any weapon, and sometimes, a simple habit could create legends.